Welcome to the Book Pub Podcast. This is a podcast where we like to talk about authors and the books that they wrote while enjoying a nice cocktail.
And it includes two women.
Yay, that's what we are. I'm Lesley.
I'm Madeline.
And
you just threw me off because you usually start with, this is a podcast where two women, and I was like, wait.
I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna just be like, take that out.
See what happens? Well, then I freaked out. I get routines. Routines are like my life.
Now we have another horribly fun intro that sucks.
I find them charming. Screw you.
Yes. Person who just turned off because they don't like it.
Yeah. Don't pull an Oscars on me.
Yes. So Madeline, what are we doing today?
Oh, Lesley, we are doing Upton Sinclair.
Yahoo!
I was inspired to start researching Upton Sinclair because I'll tell you a little bit, but he, for reasons that I'll say in a minute, was mentioned in a movie recently. I was like, what? He did that? And I was so amazed. I was like, let's do Upton Sinclair.
Cool.
Because I've never read The Jungle.
I did, and I have a story that I need to tell you about that.
Okay. So Upton Sinclair is an author, political activist. His most notable work is The Jungle, a horrifying read that many high school teachers have their students suffer through. My high school teacher gave me an excerpt from it, so thank you to high school teachers who don't force their students to read the whole thing. He was a writer during the Progressive era and was part of the muckraking journalism. He is known to have written close to 100 books, 30 plays, and potential screenplays, and had many contributions to journalism.
Nice. So, can I tell you my crazy story right now?
Because I think before I mention the drink or after I mention the drink.
Okay, let's get a little sip in, and then I'll tell you my story of reading The Jungle.
So I'm excited. So knowing at least the excerpt from The Jungle that we read, and it was actually in my history class that we read the excerpt of it, not English class. So anyway, we read this excerpt, so I know enough about it. Never really want to read it. I know it's important. I definitely know it's important, but I don't. Anyways, so today I did something simple. So if you're listening to this podcast, go ahead, have it with breakfast, and have it with a good old Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing today. So Bloody Mary, a jigger of vodka, 3/4 of tomato juice, Worcestershire sauce, pepper, salt, hot sauce, and whatever vegetables you want to throw in there. I really love going out for Bloody Marys because it's a salad with a drink. I'm not usually a fan of just Bloody Marys at home or anything. If I go out, it's fun to have a Bloody Mary because it's you can basically have a giant salad with a drink. So we just have a measly, pathetic little
piece of
celery stick.
It's the simplest salad.
It is. But if you get crazy with it, let us know because I love all the different ideas of what to put in your Bloody Mary. So anything
Peppers
and everything.
And craziness. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a Bloody Mary bar and it was 40 feet of just fun things to put in your Bloody Mary.
Oh, crazy.
So that's the kind of stuff I love.
That'd be kind of fun. Yeah.
I like my snacks.
Instead of a salad bar, there's a Bloody Mary bar.
Exactly. I love my snacks, and why not have a snack with your drink? I will have a snack with anything. So
yeah. All right.
This is the snackless Bloody Mary.
Hey, we didn't do bad.
No, it's not bad.
I like it.
It's not as spicy as I thought it would be.
Yeah, maybe we needed more hot sauce. Whatever.
I did a dash,
that's good.
Thought that would be fine.
Maybe it's all at the bottom.
Yeah, right. Well, I did a dash because I did buy spicy V8 juice.
Oh, yeah.
So even the V8 juice isn't even spicy, so it's kind of shocking. But
yeah.
Hey, whoop whoop. Oh, and this reminds me, I do love my snacks with my drinks because that one episode where I did Herman Melville and we had the snack of the Swedish fish.
Yeah.
I just love snacks with drinks.
It works. It helps.
You want
helps with the alcohol.
quick access to my heart. Give me a snack and a drink combo.
Yeah. So my funny story about reading The Jungle. It was in a history class in college. And so at this point, and I was an English major, so I'm already planning to read several books every single week. And so it's the only thing I factored in with taking this history class was that I'm going to read a history book. And then the teacher throws on us this whole okay, we're all going to read The Jungle and you have to write an essay about it. And it's like, well, I'm an English major, so I know how to read really quickly and I know how to write like bomb ass essays without even reading something, right? So I only read the book once and I basically like skim through it, just kind of going with like what I want it to write it about, you know? I would think I did like feminism's influence on socialism, I think is how I tried to, you know, approach like my essay.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I got this killer idea. I just have to kind of, you know, skim through, read the book, find a couple things, you know, plop it into the essay. You know, I'm going to get an A no matter what, because that's how I know how to do that. No brag. And so I turn in my essay and I get it back. And the teacher gives me an A-, and he's all like, oh, I found, you know, your idea is really interesting and this and that. However, there's a problem with the fact, or he's like, or however, I'm very suspect of the fact that you never spelled the main character's name correctly throughout your entire essay. And because I kept on calling him Jarvis instead of Jurgis. So, you know, so it's like in my skimming through, I like never stopped to like actually like look at the guy's name. It's just the name that I was like using to like, you know, to read really quickly. And so I kept on calling him Jarvis in the essay.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I just imagine that this teacher was like sitting there putting it into like, you know, what's that program they put all your essays in and stuff?
Oh God, what is it?
Yeah,
I forget. Like
to check to see if you're
if
like
you're authentic.
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah. I'm guessing he's like putting it in all these ways of like, you know, and respelling the name even and trying to think that she's trying to not get caught for like, you know, using someone else's paper or something like
By
that.
changing the name to Jarvis. That's hilarious.
And it's like, it was just so embarrassing. I don't think I ever like talked to him about anything ever again, or like ever raised my hand in class, because it was like, oh, I don't want to tell him that essentially I'm very arrogant about my ability to write really good papers about books that I don't give a shit about. And and that's the only reason I didn't remember the main character's name, because I was also probably writing like 5 other essays that week. And this was just like a stupid history, you know, general class and
Gen ed class,
yeah. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. That's so funny. That is funny. Well, did you learn anything from that?
I learned
Take time to recheck the names.
Yes, I learned that. I mean, I learned that I mean, something to mention probably later with that, but yeah, that I don't know. It's kind of a bummer that he wrote the book, you know, intending it for a certain thing, and it's only read by like history students who like don't care about, you know, the actual like literary aspects of the book, you know, because it's sort of been usurped by this whole movement that happened in America because of that book. You know,
well, we'll get into this.
Yeah.
You're taking a lot of my podcast away from me. So, Upton Sinclair, his father, is Upton Bial Sinclair. So, Upton Sinclair is a junior. Okay. This is Upton Sinclair Sr. Was a liquor salesman and a major drunk.
Ooh.
His mother, Hardin Sinclair, was a hard Episcopalian.
Hardin, and she's a Hardin.
Episcopalian, which meant that she did not allow coffee, tea, or alcohol. So opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, how did they get together?
No idea. I mean, this is the 1800s. Did I say when he was born?
Oh, I don't know. Say it again.
Okay, Upton Sinclair was born on September 20th, 1878, to his father, Upton Bial Sinclair, to a liquor salesman and a major drunk. Mother, Hardin Sinclair, was a hard Episcopalian, which did not allow for coffee, tea, or alcohol. As a kid, he and his family did not have much money and verged on complete poverty.
Okay.
Sinclair would sleep on the sofa or the foot of his parents' bed. If the dad was out...
Like a cat.
Yeah, like a cat or a dog. Yeah. Just a child sleeping at the end of the bed.
Oh.
If dad was out doing his salesman stuff, he would have access to a bed and he'd snuggle with his mom.
Oh.
While growing up in such poverty...
How long did he sleep on the end of his parents' bed?
Probably until he was about 10 or 11.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They couldn't even get like a sleeping bag or something?
No, they were...
It's like, we just got this one bed and one blanket.
Well, he was either on the couch or the bed, so he had like an option.
Yeah.
But Like he never really had his own bed
Yeah.
because they were too poor.
Crazy.
While growing up in this poverty, though, his mother, on the antithesis, his mother's extended family and like her family were extremely wealthy. And they would go and visit, and they would have like mansions and servants and all this wealthy stuff.
So it's basically like, yeah, you go from like Oliver Twist to like Pemberley.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And so he was able to like see how the other half lived.
Oh, wow.
And he's and his family are super struggling. And his dad's family was actually ruined from the Civil War. They were originally a very respectable family, but then the Civil War happened and they were ruined. So he's
Let me
even
guess
seeing...
they were Southern.
Yes. He's seeing like the side of him being in such poverty, his extended family being so extremely wealthy, and then these ones that are like can't let go of the fact that their name has been ruined. And so it's like all these different aspects of life, and it influences him greatly with his political career and his ideology that he develops.
Sure.
So they moved around a lot when he was young because of his dad having a salesman job. So there's not a lot of, also on top of it all, there's not a lot of stability. So there's no stability. Wow. He doesn't even have his own bed. And he's seeing his mom's family just like comfortable. They have their summer home and their normal home. And then there's his dad's family that are just like poor, but like holding like a Miss, what's the one from Great Expectations? I forget her name. The one that's like, the people that can't let go of the past, who still try and live in glory, but can't afford that glory anymore.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So like he's seeing that with his dad's family, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Everyone's just a Dickens novel around here.
It is. He kind of is a Dickens novel. So finally, the family moves to New York, and there's a little bit more stability. They stay in New York for a while. And Sinclair is finally able to obtain a normal education. So he was self-educated up until he was about 10. And then at 10, they started being able to afford to allow him to go to school, and you know, things started to shift.
They got some
when he
like
10.
Stability in New York. Maybe he like has, you know, his own bed now, but not really.
Exactly. So now things are changing. He lives in New York and he's getting educated, but he was self-taught, really smart, really well-read, just kind of was like always had those like classic books under his shoulder. And I was going to mention like, oh, you know, and he loved the classics. But after doing this for now almost a year, what writer didn't just love and read the classics?
Yeah, seriously.
Well, yeah,
except for the ones who maybe are the classics, I guess. But even then, they read like Greek, so never mind.
Exactly. Everyone's just reading classics. So it's, you know, he's one of the typical writers. At 14, he attends City College of New York. And to pay for his education, he sells children's stories and humor pieces to magazines.
Okay. Cool.
So that's kind of how he starts to, he loved literature, like you know, he obviously loved writing. And so he would sell like little pieces at 14 to pay for City College of New York.
Nice. Smart.
Yeah.
You know, find a good way to make a little money.
Pay for things.
Yeah, my parents can't even afford a bed. How are they going to pay for me to go to college?
Yeah, at 14.
Well, you got to start thinking early when, you know, you're so impoverished.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like, you know, it took my parents a long time to become stable in my own life. And so I better start counting those pennies.
Yeah, he's pretty smart with that. So at 19, he enrolls in Columbia.
Okay.
And he is studying to become a lawyer. But he decides on writing instead, so he switches gears. But his idea was to be a lawyer. So you can start seeing that even at 19, 14 through 19, he's developing both these paths of politics, law, you know, government type stuff on top of writing and literacy. So you're seeing that it started pretty much at a young age because he wanted to become a lawyer. And then he's like, well, I actually want to write instead. He marries Meta Fuller in 1900. And
wait, what's her first name?
Meta, M-E-T-A.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Meta Fuller in 1900, and they have a son in 1901. In 1901, he completes his first novel and tries to have it published, but no one takes it, so he self-publishes.
Oh, wow.
So here's where I'm going to pause really fast. If you remember at the beginning, I said he wrote close to 100 novels.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just going to have to like skim through and just be like, he wrote a bunch of novels here.
I skimmed through and there's someone who wrote like 20 novels. I'm like, you know.
I was like, okay, I could write about, oh God, oh, there's so many novels right now. Okay, I can't. So it's just going to be like, he wrote novels in this decade.
Yes, there was a bunch.
There was just a bunch.
And if he's self-publishing, I mean, it sounds like, it's not.
Yeah. Because those didn't really take well. He pumped out a bunch more novels. Again, he wrote a lot. So he's just writing books. They're not totally critically acclaimed. They are all over the board, too. The topics range from, like, the horrors of Wall Street to the Civil War to even an autobiography.
Ew, interesting.
So at like early 20s, he's writing his own autobiography.
He's like, people need to know about my life. I don't know how much more I'll live, so I might as well
write it now. Yeah. So he's just kind of all over the place with his writing. He just wrote everything and just tried to get everything published. And
I remember once when I was in my 20s, where this guy was saying how he was like, I'm writing down all of my memories that I can remember. And I'm like, so you mean like a journal? And he's all like, no, it's more like an autobiography, but I'm trying to just go with every memory. And I figure I need to start now so that, because, there's just so much to backtrack on, And I'm like, so you mean a retroactive journal? Like, no, it's more like an autobiography. No, that's a journal.
Yeah. Because even with an autobiography, you still have to like tell some sort of story.
Yeah, exactly. And also I feel
like,
like when you're in your early 20s, it's like, isn't it, even if you write it in an autobiographical way, isn't it still basically a journal?
Yeah, because you're still too young. I don't know. Yeah, it's the idea of autobiographies are like, I'm not always a fan to jump on them because it is like there's that high level of narcissism of like, look how interesting my life is. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh.
That's why I kind of like half respect the idea of like these big people who like get someone else to basically write their autobiography because they had some moment and so they know that they're going to be able to sell a lot of books, and it's a way to just kind of supplement whatever maybe horrible thing just happened to you or anything else. I'm like, I'm never going to read this book, but props to you for ghostwriting, having someone ghostwrite your autobiography.
Yeah. I mean, there's some autobiographies I'm totally into, but it's like you have had to actually go through something pretty insane, like Wild. Yeah. That was amazing and heartfelt.
Well, and that's not an autobiography, that's a memoir, so I think it's different.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe I'm into memoirs.
Yeah. Memoirs are
less
cool.
Autobiography.
Yeah, autobiography is like the things that like, like Hillary Clinton comes out with an autobiography or whatever, and or Katharine Hepburn or something,
So what's the difference between a memoir and an autobiography?
I think it's very nuanced, but essentially the idea of like you can use more artistic license in a memoir than an autobiography. Because autobiography is like, here's my childhood, here's this, and sectioning things off in like some sort of way, as opposed to a memoir where it's like, like the beginning of Wild, where it's like, it's the scene of her throwing this shoe off a cliff and and it's like, how did I get here? Essentially.
Well, and it didn't talk about like it really had the focus on just the one moment.
Yes.
Which I'm okay with. Just like in Eat, Pray, Love. It's focused on that one year that she did
You learn a lot about the person and maybe stuff about their childhood or whatever else in their life. But really it's there's just a little bit more artistic liberty for a memoir. It's creative nonfiction. It's more creative nonfiction than
okay, so
straight
that's
up
what I'm
nonfiction.
into.
Yes.
That's what I'm into then.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm glad because I've read a lot about like autobiographies. I'm like, oh my God, stop talking about yourself. Your life is not that interesting. I'm very cynical about people's lives, apparently. Yeah. I'm like, your life is not that interesting. But memoirs, like reading Educated by Tara Westover and Eat, Pray, Love by Gilbert.
Right.
What's her first name?
Elizabeth Gilbert.
And then Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Yeah. Love those so much.
Yeah. I guess it's like the I like those because there's more of the theme being some subject, as opposed to the theme just being me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, well then, he sucks because he's writing autobiography in his early 20s for that. Oh my God. Okay. So, and also his writing's all over the place. Civil War, Wall Street, autobiographies, like pick a lane, dude. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he ever did. Because again, he wrote close to 100 novels and I think he was just like, I'm going to write about it. It's just like, again, pick a lane.
He wrote a couple of Goosebumps later.
Okay, so now he's in his mid and early 20s. He's graduated, he's developing this writing career, and he's developed a huge contempt for the upper class, upper things, rich people.
So I'm guessing
Doesn't like him.
when he went to visit his mom's family, they weren't like really fun to be around.
I know why.
Not even going to
like,
be an affinity
is it-
there.
Yeah, because if it's like because I could have seen it going the other way, where he goes to visit his rich family and he's like, "This is what I'm going to want, so I'm going to work really hard to make money so that I can be rich." Mm-hmm. No, he just gets angry. So maybe they did not treat him well.
Yeah.
I don't know. So lots of contempt, and so he has with his experiences with his family and with his journalistic observations, because still he's writing novels, but he's also kind of freelancing for journalists or for newspapers. So through his freelancing, his journalistic observations, his own experience, he's just like, I'm done with wealthy people. And he does what any young idealist does and joins the Socialist Party.
Of course. It's either that or the circus, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially in the early 1900s. So in 1904, he is sent to Chicago for a socialist newspaper, Appeal to Reason, to do an expose on the treatment of labor in the meatpacking industry.
Okay.
After spending several weeks, he is so horrified by everything.
He becomes a vegetarian.
He probably does. That he throws himself into a manuscript for a full-on book. So again, just kind of showing you how he was as a person and writer. Mm-hmm. He was sent for an expose, which is what, like maybe 6 columns.
Yeah,
max.
like 1,000 words, 2,000 words.
Yeah, no, he's doing a full book on it. So he gets very passionate and just loves to write. So he's like, I'm doing this expose for Appeal to Reason magazine for socialism and stuff. And it was supposed to be focusing on the treatment of the laborers in the meatpacking industry. But it turned into, as most people know, just all the horrors, what they put in the meat, how they treat the animals, all of these things. So he doesn't do anything half-assed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to go and write 5,000 books before I die, and I'm going to go and you want an expose? Fine, I'll give you 600 pages or however long the book is.
I think it's actually pretty short. It's not that long.
I think it's like 250, but still.
Yeah.
So
You want it, 2,000 words? I will give you 3 times that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So he just kind of goes.
250,000 words.
He doesn't take anything by an inch. He goes full on, full out. So this book becomes The Jungle. It is actually initially rejected by a lot of publishers, but is finally published in February of 1906.
Okay.
With the help of his friend and fellow socialist, Jack London.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know Jack London was a socialist.
Well, that makes sense to me, but
It does. It does. But I was like, and they're good friends. It's
Nice.
like, oh, cool. Yeah. The book gains massive recognition, is translated into like 12 different languages, printed all over the world, and has major public acclaim. So to kind of go back to what you were saying, how it's kind of sad that people nowadays are only using it as like a literacy, like an education literacy just in the school system. But back then, people loved it. Mm-hmm. Like they worshipped this book. They're like, this book's amazing, must read it. I'm just like, probably every single book club in America was reading it in 1906.
Yeah, but
and I'm like, why do you? Did people in 1906 have a lot stronger stomachs than we do now? Or?
Well, I mean, I think probably because it's like when people send around those like documentaries, about like animal cruelty, and it's like, oh my god, it's so horrible, but you have to watch it, and so it's like along those lines. And also I will say that it's like the book that's not what it's about. There's a lot of really horrific imagery, but like the book was about how workers are treated really poorly.
But again, it's Upton Sinclair, so instead of just like doing the specifics and focusing on that one aspect, he's just like, let's do everything.
Well, because you have to, say where they're working, and so you're talking about, so it's like almost side description compared to like what it's about. What it's about is these workers. And then it just so happens that where they're working isn't some like nice thing, like a, sewing factory or something like that. And, and you're talking about like their hands getting all messed up or something. Instead, it's like we're talking about, meat and animals and sanitary conditions and things like that are a product of the fact that you're talking about how poorly these workers are being treated.
Yeah.
And so since they're being treated poorly, of course, their conditions are also not that great because, you know, the owners don't want, if they're trying to save money with labor, of course, they're trying to save money in other ways, you know, and also then the workers who aren't getting paid well are not doing anything to, you know, really help the process because they don't give a shit about their jobs. And so it's like, but yeah, the horrible part, even though it's not the main part of the book, is what everyone focuses on because it's just like, what? You know?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying is that was his intention. But
Yeah.
because he doesn't know how to just like stay,
I think
he doesn't know how to stay
See, I
focused.
think he did. No. I think he still stayed focused on that. I think that people saw these one. It's like, you know, it happens all the time with other, I don't know, books or things and stuff where it's just like, you know, like, East of Eden, you know, like the imagery at the very end of that book is like the thing that so many people remember as opposed to like everything else that went on in the book because they're just like, wait, hold on. That was really weird, you know? And
I don't know. Just like after doing research, I could see it both ways. Like I could see that he's doing this and people are distracted, but I could also see it that he was just like, he's one of those who just gets too excited about every political aspect and just like tries to do too much. Yeah. So I honestly can see it both ways. So, but I don't know because he's not here. Can't ask him.
Well, I think he talked about that a little bit. I think there was a whole thing.
I saw nothing of it.
Where he said like, quote, I tried to appeal to people's hearts, but instead I hit their stomachs.
Oh yes, I did see that.
Yeah.
But again, it was like, it's like whether it's just, you know, who
Yeah.
knows? He just clearly had
and we didn't like socialists, so of course people are going to be like, no, don't pay attention to the overall theme of why this person is saying something. Pay attention to this is something we can fix, but like let's not start. That's
true. That's true. So, but yeah, President Roosevelt, though not a fan of Sinclair for his politics, invites him to the White House. So Sinclair had an audience with Roosevelt to have a little chat.
I'm guessing it was probably in an election year or something.
By the end of 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act is created. So we have the FDA today because of Sinclair. So I do have to say thank you, Sinclair, for that. Yes. So that we're not eating like terrible things, but
we are eating terrible things
still.
Well, not as bad.
It's just not as bad. It's just a little bit better conditions, but not by much. Instead, we're just getting pumped with chemicals. Anyway, so with all the recognition and finances pouring in, Sinclair still holds to his strong socialist beliefs. He takes this money and builds a utopian co-op.
Okay. So a hippie commune.
Sounds cool, right? Like he's like, this is 1906, 1907.
Okay.
He's building a cool hippie commune, but it had to be non-Jewish and white only, and it was in New Jersey. So he still isn't like the most politically forward person. He's still like kind of racist and anti-Semitic, but you know. I was like, really, dude, you were so close.
Like, cool,
to being like super
we're
modern.
All gonna hang out and grow our own vegetables and raise each other's kids and sing hallelujah. And it's like, but not the Jews.
Or anyone of color. Yeah, so he kind of sucked. This utopian commune ends up burning down in less than a year through mysterious circumstances.
Well,
Upton thinks that he was actually targeted for his political beliefs and his politics. So he actually just straight up was like, okay, I'm done. Gives up on that dream.
Oh, wow. Well, they burned it to the ground, and so, you know.
He keeps writing books, though. He's still writing them. It's like, boom, 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 boom.
I'm guessing if he wrote 100 books in his lifetime, he has to be writing, like, all the time.
And he's, he has to be writing... He has to be writing more than one a year, too.
Oh, wow.
At some point.
Okay. So,
because the math, it's like, oh yeah, he's got to be doing more than one a year. And he's also writing for magazines, and he ends up writing plays and some screenplays. And so he's just constantly writing.
This is a man who does not own a television.
No, he does not.
I mean, it's also from a time when
1907.
Yeah, but
they didn't have him. But
he doesn't own a radio.
Yeah, he's doing nothing but basically writing.
He has no friends. That's why he has to start a commune.
To try and make friends. I love communes. They are not none of his books are really met with much success in his early career.
Sure.
He was really pushing his ideology. So again, socialism, a lot of his ideology not well received during this time. So it was kind of like his books were not selling well.
Yeah.
But he was probably just like pushing his beliefs a little too hard.
Is it like he's also still writing more nonfiction, or he's writing? He's all over the place in the beginning, but he's
all over the place.
So he's writing fiction books too. He's like creating stories.
He writes. Nothing is untouched.
Okay. Once
Fiction,
upon a time.
Nonfiction, autobiographies.
It's been a couple years since I wrote my last autobiography.
Things have happened in the last 2 years.
I just sat down and wrote a lot of books. You want to hear about it?
Yeah, he just doesn't do much except for write books. But now we get to the 1920s, and things actually start happening. Because up till then, he's married, he's got a kid, he tried to be a lawyer, he tried to get a hippie commune, but he's just like, he's writing and doing like political, like show-offy things.
Cool.
And like pushing his political agenda. But now we're in the 1920s.
Yes.
He divorces Meta and remarries a woman named Mary Kimbrough.
Okay.
And they move to LA. So now he goes from East Coast to West Coast. Now he's a West Coast boy.
Nice.
Here is where his political career really starts to attempt to take off.
That makes more sense. I mean, it sounds like those are his people, you know? It's the hippie commune life. Not quite yet, but it will be. And, you know, and the politics are going to be a lot more liberal and, you know, more inviting. And so, yeah, he can get all like cult leader-ish if he wants to.
Mary is from the South. He's from the East Coast, and they're coming out to California. So they're young hopefuls.
American dream.
Yeah,
Here we come.
They're American hopefuls. So he actually founded the California chapter on the American Civil Liberties group. So he was the head of the chapter of the American Civil Liberties group in California.
Sweet.
He attempts to run for Congress like 5 times.
Okay.
Mainly for the House of Representatives. And he runs representing the Socialist Party.
Okay, well, so he's not going to win.
So none of these attempts are met with success. That is why we don't call him Congressman Upton Sinclair.
Yeah, I mean, even it's like, okay, dude, like you must know that you're not going to win. Like, how do you're not going to win? Like,
no, but he's, you know, again, those California, they're hopeful, you know.
It's not like
the fact that he did it like
Roosevelt.
5 times, and he didn't do it all solely in California, but he's been attempting now a political career. So he's like, cool, I'm a writer. I write like a book a year. I'm also wanting to be a politician.
Are we sure it's just not a way to like sell more books? Like free advertisement, you know?
I mean, maybe. But again, like based on our conversation with the Jungle, I think he was like super hardcore political and wanted his political ideas out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really wish I could actually sit down and have a Bloody Mary with him and just be like, dude, explain your life. Like, okay, now I'm curious about your autobiography. When you're in your 20s? No, stop.
No, I don't want to read that one. I want to read one of the later ones.
Yeah, I want to know, like, okay, you've been dead for many years. Now tell me your life.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? What was going on?
Yeah.
So during the 20s, he actually focuses more on just really going for that social, political agenda, but he's not met with success. He still is writing, because again, he can't stop.
Well, this is also why he's not winning, because he's not out there, campaigning and kissing babies.
I think he maybe had a little bit of ADHD, and he probably just didn't sleep too.
Okay, sure.
His 1927 novel "Oil," about the oil industry, actually was the story inspiration for the Oscar-nominated winner, I don't remember, movie There Will Be Blood.
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's all, again, he is all over the place.
I didn't know that was him. I remember.
Laborers, the oil industry, everything.
Nice.
Nothing was, he's basically like the South Park, the not funny version of South Park for the 1900s.
Okay.
Everything is something he can comment on.
I gotta get angry about it all. He would have been a great like AM radio host in like modern day, as opposed to like just writing 5 billion books. Like,
exactly.
Just give him a radio show and let him like talk for 5 hours about whatever.
Whatever. So, and then there was another book that was written about like a court case that was going on, and that came out in 1928. It was called Boston.
Okay. It's about
Again, there was just I got
Boston.
so overwhelmed.
It was about the band Boston.
No, that would have been cool. I just got so overwhelmed. It was like this book, this book, this book, this book.
So there's a lot of books.
So there's a lot of books. So again, he keeps attempting. Now here's where I get excited because I was like, what? Now we are in the 1930s. So he's just been like, I'm attempting for House of Representatives. I want to be a congressman. Da-da-da-da. I'm being a socialist. Now we're in the 1930s. Oh, and he's writing. Yeah. Again, he doesn't do much but attempt a political career and write the shit out of things.
Cool.
So it's now in the 1930s. With the Great Depression under swing, he increases his attempts as a political activist. He organizes. So, Great Depression, he's seeing all these labor forces out of work.
It's his
the
worst
Dust
nightmare.
Bowl. It is. He is like, oh my gosh. He organizes the Epic Party or the End Poverty in California Party.
And poverty.
He is out on the streets, yelling, doing posters. He is huge right now, and he attempts to run for the governor of California in 1934. We almost had Upton Sinclair as our governor. I was like, what? So that's how I found out about the fact. That's why I was like, whoa, that's so cool, because I was watching Mank. And Mank, they're like talking about this 1934 California governor election.
Okay.
And they're like, the main battle was against Upton Sinclair.
Oh, so he was actually like really like popular enough that.
Yes.
Wow.
So he lost, but he had 37% of the votes in a three-way tie.
Oh, that's
or in a three-way
real
race.
Good.
Yeah,
wow.
he actually, like, if you think about it, but Hollywood wasn't for it. So they basically maneuvered the campaign against him.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because that's when Hollywood was like really much more conservative about things. Mm-hmm. You have just like so many censorship laws and whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. So he's running for governor of California, and he really campaigned hard too. And he made films, like little films showing the workforce out there and like being like...
Ooh, with like one of those fun little voices of like, happening out in the valley of Sacramento. Here we see this going on. And it's got the little like...
And California was in for it. However, here's the caveat.
Uh-oh.
He did not run for the Socialist Party.
Okay.
He ran for a Democrat.
Well, see, that's what he should have done in the beginning.
Almost won. He could have been a congressman. He could have been something if he was like, okay, read the room. What can I do to still get my political agenda out there?
Yeah.
But get voted for?
Yeah.
So he ran for Democratic Party. But this kind of caused a little bit of tension.
Okay.
So it's a little confusing, but he kind of ends up in this like weird middle ground because like the communists are saying you're too capitalistic for us.
Okay.
And obviously
right.
He's not the other side, which is capitalism, more of that side. So that's how he kind of ended up wedged in with the Democratic Party. I don't think what I read and what I kind of understood was it wasn't by necessarily choice. They just looked like they were like, you're too capitalistic for us.
We wanted someone more extreme, and you're not extreme enough.
Which he's, they kind of lived in a comfortable house out in LA, specifically Monrovia. And, so yeah, I could see it. And maybe it's like, oh, you're not actually trying to reestablish that utopian co-op. Like, we don't want you to be a representative or something. Huh. Yeah, so it
wasn't like a smart decision on his own. It's like he was just kind of forced into it because the socialists were like, I don't know about you anymore, man.
Yeah.
You've changed. It's like some band that just got popular or something like that. And it's just like, I don't like them ever since they became mainstream.
Exactly. So he's kind of becoming more mainstream right now. Like, people are talking about him. Hollywood's talking about him. He becomes friends with Charlie Chaplin, who's like, come write screenplays for us in Hollywood. And, he's kind of becoming, a little bit more mainstream. And this was, 20 years after The Jungle came out. So it's like he had his peak of fame when he was super young. And then it was kind of like, he didn't really do anything. He just wrote novels and attempted to be a congressman. And now all of a sudden he's like governor for California and with Hollywood elite and like... things are getting kind of sticky again. So I don't know.
And
It's
he didn't,
like one
like-
of those kind of
yeah.
like mystery things. Like it would be a really cool like film noir of like Upton Sinclair and his battle for
Yeah.
his, you know, representing the Socialist Party, but then gets kicked out and is forced to be part of the Democratic Party, all while battling the Hollywood elite. And he's living out in LA, and it's sweltering hot, and people are poor and on the streets, and there's workers that he's fighting for, and he's yelling with signs. And I think it'd be a really cool film noir.
I'm getting like poor man Citizen Kane vibes from him, because it's sort of like, here you had these different successes, but like you didn't do anything in the interim to really learn how to handle then this next sort of chapter, you know? Like, it's like if, you know, after the jungle, he's like, now I'm going to go and like learn a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to kind of, you know, set myself up for the things that I want to do, as opposed to being like, let me just hit the ground running. Let me just be that, you know? Maybe there would have been
I'm really
more.
glad you said that, because the movie Citizen Kane came out right after he lost governor.
Okay.
So I think Sinclair was some sort of inspiration for Citizen Kane.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it could be a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. You know, we know it's Hearst, right? Yeah, it's Hearst.
It is Hearst.
Yeah, but then maybe there's a little, just in terms of the actual,
Well,
just
like this moment in
yeah.
history. Like he's, you know,
Yeah.
obviously having some sort of influence in this moment of history. So this kind of is something that's fun, is that even though he lost governor of California, his one book that he's actually known for happened when he was like 19, doesn't mean you are lost to history. Mm-hmm. Because he still had his influence on something like Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, helping with the FDA.
And help, you know, history students hate their history teachers.
Yes, that too. So he loses, like I said. And then what does he do after he loses for the governor of California?
Is he going to run for Congress again?
No, he's done with his political career. That was like the last hurrah.
Okay.
What does he do?
Writes more books.
He writes a book. He writes a book about how he lost the governor of California. I was like, really? You had to write about that too?
Yeah,
Like,
of course he did.
Big Elaine.
He literally just writes about anything.
He writes about anything. I made a small list at the end so we can cover stuff that he wrote about.
It's like I spent all this time not writing, and so let's just call this whole experience research for my next book.
There you go. So then World War II breaks out. He's too old, so he doesn't fight in World War II.
Okay. Yeah. Wait. How old is he now then? Maybe.
So like in the 19th. So now we're getting late 30s, early 40s. And he was born in 1878. He's like 60s. Something.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, he kind of that was the end. That he's like, I attempted governor of California for the Democratic Party, and I lost that, and I pouted and wrote a book, so I'm done. So what he does instead is he throws himself wholly into his writing, as if he wasn't already doing before.
Really.
And he creates an 11-book series called Lanny Budd.
Lanny.
Lannybudd.
Okay.
And again, like it's kind of like Game of Thrones, but 11 books of them, and like obviously,
and they're not coming out every 10 years.
No, yeah. So book 2 in the series came out in like 1943, and it is kind of focuses on Nazism and the rise of Hitler.
Wow.
And puts that down, like really calls in, like politically challenges people who kind of let this happen in a way, but it's still with his kind of somewhat anti-Semitic white people filter.
Okay. Yeah, because
But it's like a political agenda without being like, he's still not like a great person, but he's still pushing for a better political agenda. I don't know. This book was so important to what was happening, and it was so good that this won him the Pulitzer Prize.
Oh, wow.
So the second book in Lanny Budd is a Pulitzer Prize winning book.
Nice.
So now he's done it all.
Yeah.
At this point, why continue the story? He wrote an autobiography at 20. And wrote The Jungle, created the FDA, ran for Congress, ran for governor, worked with Hollywood elites, wrote so many books. So at this point, he just kind of hangs out writes the massive series, works on plays and films. And by 1950s, his wife Mary, late 1950s, his wife Mary gets sick and focuses attention on taking care of her.
Okay.
And she dies in 1961.
Meanwhile, he's also writing a book while she's sleeping.
Exactly. And then he gets remarried at the age of 83.
Wow. Okay, Hugh Hefner.
I know, right? But I think she was old too.
Okay.
Like they were two old people.
Oh, cute. Me in the nursery home.
I don't know if he waited that long after his other wife, Mary, died.
Wait, this is Mary. This is Mary too.
This is Mary too.
Okay.
So Mary dies, and then he gets married to a Mary Willis.
Okay.
At 83.
All right.
And then this just cracks me up. Okay, let's repaint this guy's picture.
When you're that old, you can't wait, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But this is what cracks me up. So, New York, California, political activist, writes The Jungle, does this, does that, wins the Pulitzer Prize. And then at 83, he moves to Arizona to quietly retire into the hills of Arizona.
That kind of makes sense, though. I feel like that's what they do. It's warm. It's the West Coast version of Florida. Like,
I know, but I thought it'd be interesting. I thought the end of his life would be like, and then he decided to do it again. Let's run for California governor again.
Nope. You know, you got to go retire in Tucson.
Yep. Yeah, he just got a little house. Here's this massive socialist who
I
just
want a
goes
lot of
out
cactuses on my yard.
and retires in Arizona. And his health takes a turn, so they move out to New Jersey to move into a nursing home.
Oh, okay.
On November 25th, 1967, his wife Mary dies. And 1 year later, at the ripe old age of 90, Upton Sinclair passes away.
Okay. Wow.
So he's 90.
In New Jersey. So then
In New Jersey.
Yeah.
So it's like come back full circle.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Upton Sinclair was an avid...
You had to do the hero's journey, you know?
Yes.
He had to have his Lord of the Rings moment, you know, end up back in the Shire.
But wasn't the Shire like Arizona?
No, but wouldn't the Shire... No, because the Shire would be New Jersey, because wasn't he from New Jersey?
Yeah. Well, like East Coast, because
so you go, you know, on Mordor, and you do all of this random crap, and then you end up back in the Shire.
6 years in Arizona? Like, what was...
Because that's what you're supposed to do. It's in the old people contract.
Even Upton Sinclair. And he lived a very good long life, too.
Yeah.
And the fact that he died 1 year after Mary, too. So that he didn't have to get married again. So Upton Sinclair was an avid reader. Nope. Avid writer. Writing about 8,000 words a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Wow.
And exposed as much as he could for his political beliefs. He wrote about the oil industry, Ford, yellow journalism, and alcoholism. And he wrote a book, and that's why I was hesitant to do an alcoholic beverage, but I still did it, because he wrote a full book about how men follow alcohol to the grave. So I think maybe that's why he was also pretty healthy and lived to be 90.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds, but, you know, saying that his father was an alcoholic and stuff like that, that makes sense. That, like, he would... You know, because it's not always just about alcoholism. It's also about how much you hate your father.
Yeah. And for my one fun fact, which kind of goes off to the fact that he really wrote about everything, nothing was untouched, was he wrote a children's book called The Gnome Mobile.
The Gnome
Mobile.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The Gnome Mobile in 1937.
So... It's gnomes driving cars?
I guess so.
Or
He
cars
was
for
inspired. Well, he was inspired after a trip to the Redwoods
Okay.
to write The Gnome Mobile in 1937.
Cute.
And it was one of the very first children's novels with an environmentalist message.
Of course, he still has a message in his...
It was one of the first of its kind to impart this idea of like, let's take care of our environment, children.
Oh, cool. So early version of the Lorax.
It is. And Disney adapted it and made it into a 2-part series way back in like the 40s.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
so you
cool.
could actually watch The Gnome Mobile written by Upton Sinclair. So there you go. That is his crazy little story. What I love about it is like I read probably 4 or 5 different articles on him looking for fun facts. Mm-hmm. There's not much to report on him and yet so much to report on him.
Yeah.
It was like he just... pushed, you know, like he did so much with his long life, but also not much at all. Like, it was
Or
like a casual.
He didn't have like fun things, you know. It's not like you're gonna have friends who are gonna be like, oh, this is the kind of, you know, personality that he brings to the party, you know, or something. That's what it sounds
you
like.
invite him if you're like, okay, we need to have like
wanna be
someone sit
real
in the
depressed.
corner and like talk politics in a hardcore way that depresses us.
Yeah.
Like, that was him. Yeah, he was just he wasn't like, he had no crazy stories like almost murdering his wife or like, I mean, even Sir Arthur Conan Doyle got into the occult at one point, which was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But Upton Sinclair was just like really a passionate politician and clearly a passionate writer. And that was it.
Exactly. Like, he was very one focused in a sense.
And I've been like hardcore tried to find, you know, like a list of fun facts to share. I could not find anything. It was just more facts of like moments in his life. I'm like, great, okay, I have this. Yes, ran for this. And it was like, he ran for Congress so many times. I guess I could have said like, oh, okay, in 1937 he ran for Congress for the first time. 1940 or in 1927 he ran for Congress for the first time. Then he ran again for the third time.
And here's the name of all of the books.
But this isn't like an actual history lesson. Yeah. This is to get you to understand who he was. So I'm like, I'm not going to say like, okay, this date he did this. Oh, guess what? He didn't win. In this date he did this. Oh, guess what? He didn't win.
He won again.
I was like, simple guy.
He's Sisyphus. He's just pushing that boulder up the hill and he's happy doing it, you know.
That's exactly it. That is 100% it.
But we don't need to mention how many times he pushed the boulder up the hill. It seems like he'd be interesting, but all he would do is just like go on and on about like every little issue, and it's like, can we just like,
let's talk about like the art scene, or like, what did you eat that was delicious yesterday?
Right. And he'd be like, oh, this is about the food industry.
Oh, let me tell you,
know
everything.
That the entertainment industry
and
doesn't,
you're just like halfway through a bite of this of like
Yeah.
a piece of salmon on a cracker or whatever, and he's like, oh, let me tell you all about the fishing and overfishing, and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. That's like,
I was really looking forward to that bite. Yeah, he would be that guy. Who invited Upton? Crap.
Yeah.
We have to take turns just like listening.
You start a second like group text chain just to like not include Upton in it.
Yeah. No, it's really true. But I mean, you love those people because they help make our world better. But yeah, you don't always want to have to just socialize with them, because sometimes we need a break from how awful and hard things can be, and how there's so much injustice in the world.
Yeah.
So it was still like, okay, he's this really cool guy who's like pushing for cool things. And then he retires in Arizona. I'm like, that's like the most boring way to retire too.
I think it works with his somewhat vanilla personal life.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, it works. Yeah. He works out in our brains.
Yeah. I do like the idea that there's a mystery of like who burned down and how did the commune burn down, and
I'm wondering, it's not like
they're on drugs, and so it's not like, oops, accidental fire, you know, because we were, you know, having this massive naked dancing in the woods and, you know, carrying, you know, torches. Like, I'm guessing that wasn't happening.
No, I'm guessing not either. Again, Mr. Vanilla. I'm wondering though if there is a level of paranoia too. Like, it said mysterious circumstance, but is it like someone accidentally kicked over something?
And so we want to create a story.
And then, but in his head, he's like, people are out to get me. I'm a socialist. Oh my God, they did this on purpose. And like that kid in the back's like, ooh, should I like be honest or just kind of let
Mom's
this?
Like, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
It's just the chips fall where they may, kid.
Could be.
So there you go. Yeah. And we had Bloody Marys.
We had Bloody Marys, which makes sense in the idea that there's so much blood.
It's just a Bloody Mary.
I think of the jungle.
The jungle,
There will be blood. Hey!
Oh, I didn't even piece that one together because I was thinking of the book Oil.
Yeah.
And it's oil! Exclamation point.
Yeah.
Like
we should have had milkshakes.
Oh, right. The strawberry. Oh, that was such a good part of the movie.
Drink your milkshake.
Yeah. That movie was really good. Mm-hmm. Well, so there you go. Bloody Marys for the jungle. I know that's so not creative, but now that we've talked through his life, I'm like, weirdly, he's not.
It makes something that's like so delicious and basic and fun into something really kind of creepy and
weird, right? Yeah. So it became fun.
Yes.
Well, and then so to let our listeners in, I made our first batch. And it says when they say like make a Bloody Mary, like shake it. So I started shaking it, and it popped out of my hand. Like, I don't know how. There's nothing fizzy. So I don't know the science of it, but it pops out of my hand. And it went everywhere. It was on the ceiling. It was... I got covered. Leslie got covered. The counters. It was just like, how did that explode?
Well, and then I love when it did, like, so it's like we clean up as much of it as we can, you know? And then all of a sudden you do this like movie style, like slow look up at the ceiling. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to look up at the ceiling. I know what's up there.
I just like, it popped in my head. I was like, oh God, what if it's up there? Oh shit, it's up there. There's so much. The blood is everywhere. The blood is everywhere.
Yeah, we became Lady Macbeth real quick.
Yeah, we did. We definitely were like, clean it. Oh, damn spot. So that even like heightened the fact that this was a Bloody Mary for the jungle. It just kind of all made things really weird. And also perfect because that's Upton Sinclair.
Yes.
He's a weird vanilla.
Uh-huh.
So there. Yay!
Cool. If you like our podcast, like, subscribe, tell your friends.
And find us on Instagram / TikTok / Twitter at BookPubPod.
That's it. BookPubPod.
I always want to say .com, but it's like, it's not. It's just at BookPubPod. But we live in a world where you don't say .com anymore.
You say at BookPubPod.
But
We've drank too much and we need to go.
one Bloody Mary later. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Sources for this podcast are Social Security Association, sssa.gov/history/Sinclair, Britannica, Wikipedia, and anything else you find on Google.